Howdy, my name is Marshall Garrett. I'm in Dr. Coates' 322 entomology class, and this is my video for my debate. And today, the topic that I'm debating is which would cause the greatest infestation or loss. And the bug that I'm debating on is going to be the alfalfa weevil, and the bug that I'm debating against is going to be the Russian wheat aphid. So a few things to clear up before I begin is first off, I don't have a debate partner, so I'm only going to be briefing my side of the debate and then giving a few points on the wheat aphids and what I believe could be a response or rebuttal to the points that I make. Secondly, it's not going to be 10 minutes long as I'm only giving my part of the debate. So it'll probably be about 5 to 7 minutes, which is what's allowed for a single person without a partner. So let's jump right into it. I have a few opening statements and just clarifications and background information about the alfalfa weevil. First off, alfalfa weevils are light brown in color and texture. They're snouted beetles, so they're pretty obvious and distinct creatures to point out. They're typically about 9 millimeters in length, and they vary between black and brown in color. Generally, they get darker in color as they age. So they start out with a light green to brown to black when they're in their late adult stages. Like I just mentioned, when they're young, they start off in a green worm as a larvae, and then from there they cocoon themselves and they develop inside. And once they hatch, they hatch as an actual beetle, and then they develop that darker color as they go on. So they transition from that dark color into adult stage, and the actual alfalfa weevil is found in alfalfa plants. That's the plant that they can affect. And one thing is to note is that adults actually lay eggs inside of the plants to be hatched. So that's something that's pretty distinct and aggressive with the alfalfa weevils. And most of those eggs are laid in the spring season, which is also the big season for alfalfa crops and for growing alfalfa plants. So alfalfa weevils are active throughout the entire year except for the middle months of the summer, generally around beginning of June to the beginning of August time. They're dormant because it's too hot outside. But after that, they're in full effect for the entire year except for those a few times. Some of the impacts they have is that they lay eggs in the actual alfalfa plants themselves, and then they hatch inside. So they can kill the plant before they're even an adult or before they can even chew on the plant themselves, just by laying an egg and growing from there and killing and stopping the growth of that plant. Additionally, when they feed in the plant, they leave holes inside, which make those leaves fall off, which then hurt the plant, which then kill the plant later on in life. One of the only ways to get rid of alfalfa weevils is using pesticides, which is why they're so hard to get rid of, is that it's just an ineffective way, especially for farmers and to use crops. So a couple points about the wheat aphids that I thought might have been brought up by a debate partner is that they're small bugs and they suck the sap from plants. And they also can affect several different plants in the wheat family: grasses, wheat, tall grass, some of the drier plants. They can affect those. They're typically spindle shaped and lime green in color. And one big note is the females can reproduce asexually. So the breeding is normally done in warm temperatures, about 86 degrees or warmer. So they don't like to go into the cold areas. They also generally feed on grass and grain for majority of the year. So my first rebuttal, I'd like to talk about how the alfalfa weevil poses a great threat to the human society as they spread very quickly and infest themselves in alfalfa plants for the majority of the year. If there were to be an outbreak, these weevils would be affecting many plants because they can be in effect for almost the entire year, except for those 2 months in the summer. And additionally, the eggs are laid and hatched inside the plants, which means that even if the weevil doesn't hatch or it hatches later, it's still affecting the growth of the plant and stopping that growth of the plant and hurting and ultimately killing the plant in the end. So that's the main reason why I think they're very important and detrimental to the alfalfa crop, because they can kill them in many different ways and for the majority of the year. A few points that the other debater could pull up is that the Russian wheat aphids are detrimental to multiple crops because they can affect more than just one plant. So alfalfa weevils are only allowed to affect one plant. Additionally, the weevils infest alfalfa and kill those plants, whereas wheat aphids affect multiple crops, grasses, and plants. And the females can reproduce asexually, so there's a larger possible number of aphids than there are for weevils. Our response to this is that weed aphids are effective at hurting a wide variety of plants and greenery. However, if you're answering the actual question of which would be more damaging or a total loss, I believe it'd be total loss to a single crop. And that's why alfalfa weevils would ultimately win that debate, is because they have the largest effect and impact on alfalfa plants. Because they can do that for the entire year. They can lay eggs inside, and they can ultimately uh, hurt and kill plants in any different way for their entire life and for their entire year. Additionally, the alfalfa weevil still is available for more parts of the year than the weed aphid, and they can hurt plants for almost the entire year. So they can affect a single crop for the most amount of time, for almost an entire year. Um, my partner's response to this could be that although alfalfa weevils can affect alfalfa plants significantly, they are limited to that one plant. So when addressing total loss, the overall damage, weed aphids could win by a landslide because they can affect a variety of crops and plants. So it depends on how you look at the question. A farmer that has multiple crops can be affected by weed aphids. However, they cannot be affected by alfalfa weevils if they don't have an alfalfa plant. So my final response and my closing statement for this debate is that it really depends on how you define the question. I define the question on total loss for a single crop. So it's been seen that alfalfa weevils are the most dangerous to a single crop or plant. And alfalfa weevils can lay eggs inside the crop, which deteriorate the inside of the crop and eventually kill the plant. They feed on the leaves of these plants when they're in their larval and transition stages to adulthood. And then they feed and kill and lay eggs in their adult stage of the plants. So throughout their entire stage of life, they're affecting and hurting and deteriorating the plants, as well as almost the entire year. And that's two things the weed aphids can't do. They can't have that longevity of the time, as well as the larval stage and all the whole stage of life. They don't affect plants the entire time. Alfalfa weevils affect plants the entire all the stages of their life. And finally, they're active for all but 2 to 3 months in the summer, which allows them to have maximum impact on alfalfa crops and leave a huge impact overall. So when answering the question, which is which would cause the greatest infestation or loss, I believe the answer to that is alfalfa weevils, and I believe that I've proved that point, and I hope you would agree. Thank you.